So, welcome back to the Black Feather and Ospreys Rugby Fancast. All right, lads.
All good,
No, my heart hasn't stabilized yet.
Well, I
yeah.
was going to ask that. How's your heart? My blood pressure's just about normal.
I was just glad that I was at home because I could just have a nice, relaxing time on the sofa to calm me down afterwards. I didn't have to do anything else, just had to have a lie down. It was all a bit mad, wasn't it?
Well, Rod's lucky I didn't spew on his shoes, if I'm being honest, because that last 3 minutes was a bit tense. I think I'm lucky that I didn't get covered in his Guinness because we both jumped up and down like lunatics when Adam Beard booted that ball out. Anybody know if that's come out of orbit yet, or because he
Nearly
did
made
have
it
a
up
heck
here.
of a welt,
Yeah.
a heck of a welt.
It was quite
So,
fitting that it was Beard as well, wasn't it? Because I'm sure we'll get to the game in more detail. But as a first game back after a lengthy injury absence, he was absolutely immense, wasn't he?
he
For him
was
to have that
superb,
last moment of kicking the
absolutely.
ball off the pitch was very apt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if he scuffed it and it stayed on field, I'm sure that would have been his last action of the game because he gave everything today. He just collapsed in a heap after it.
It's
Yeah,
just, oh. So Saturday, Rod had the, should we say, pleasure?
we
Yeah,
can call it a
pleasure.
pleasure. And certainly that.
I'm sometimes a chore, but this was a pleasure. A couple of my mates in the nest are away on holiday, so they gave us their season ticket. So Rod and his dad came into the nest with me and sat next to me and mine. Um, Nice surprise for Rod when Rod got there because not only did he have his bottle of limoncello from Rome off moi,
Thank you, Sam.
he had it presented to him by Ozzy.
It did. It looked the photos that we took and put on social media afterwards. It looked like I'd won some sort of award or a prize or something.
Prize.
It's like man of the match, wasn't
Love
it?
token from Ozzy.
No,
Hey, Rod,
nobody
that's a
asked in the
limoncello.
comments whether I had won something, but I'm sure people were thinking it. Maybe some
Uh,
sort of OITC
Literally,
raffle or something.
he came up and seen us. He had his Ospreys cape on. Because since we recorded, Ozzy and I probably won't say this right, Cockin, the Scarlets Dragon mascot, went to Ninja Warrior in Swansea and did a head-to-head on the bouncy castles. Now, Osbibs, I'm not going to mention the first one when your head wouldn't fit through the hole. That second one, though, boy, you came back. You came back. We're waiting for the results of number 3 matchup, and my boy Ozzy's going to do it. That dragon's too lean. Too lean. Do you know what I mean? Um, but another great PR win for the PR team, really, because I saw that. I'm not gonna lie, I knew it was coming because me and Ozzy are like that. Um, but it was great to see. I really loved it, and I thought that was a really good thing to do. Um, if we could do like we were talking about regional mascots, and could we do something at Judgment Day with all the 4 mascots? Because I think that's really cool. Because I don't know whether Bear is called a Cardiff, but Ozzy definitely got that because his head's bandaged already. He's already concussed. Bit of a knock, and he's good. But if Dragon's got a mascot,
I I don't
have
know,
they?
but that's a great idea. Between the
Oh, they
two
surely
matches
have.
on Judgment Day,
They
massive
should.
like egg and spoon race with a rugby ball on a tennis racket with them all sprinting down the pitch
Yeah,
or something. That would be fun. That would be a laugh.
or a
Was it the football
race.
mascots used to do it, didn't they? They had like a mascots
At the FA,
competition, didn't
yeah.
they? And Cyril the Swan was in it. I remember years ago when whoever was in Cyril at that time was absolutely nuts because he used to have fights with away
He was
mascots, away fans, all
bonkers.
sorts of
He'd go
things.
up
It was
and punch
crazy.
him.
Yeah, but
My
I
kind of
think he did
mascot.
quite well. But I think he might have taken out half of the other mascots before he got to the finish line, possibly. But
Yeah, yeah.
I can't
So
remember what it was from this week. Just quick divergence, but wasn't there a mascot this week for one of the South African teams that like lamped a 9-year-old kid or something?
oh, I don't know.
Did you
I
guys
don't
catch
know.
that? I'm telling half a story here, which I appreciate is really annoying. But
Really rando,
one
yeah.
of the
Let's have a
pod,
look.
one of the
Let's
podcasts
let
I listened to, I swear somebody said something about that.
It sounds the kind of thing a South African mascot would do with everybody, isn't it?
Yeah. But while you look at that up, Sam, yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was an awesome experience coming up to the Nest and getting my bottle of limoncello, and I even got a plate of food out of it as well on one of the Nest tickets, which was fantastic because I went to that game on an empty stomach and had 2 pints in the railway before going over, and I was feeling I'm walking in. I was like, I need some food, and then John walks up to me, hands me a ticket, and said, "Go on, mate, go get some grub over there." It was much appreciated. So well
Apparently, it
done.
was a high five that went wrong. A sharp
Oh,
fan wanted a high five from the Rabbitohs mascot and ended up getting high fived in the face.
Oh, there we
Nice.
go.
Apparently,
Okay.
the
not
South
quite as
Africans
sinister as
tried.
you made it out then, Rod.
So apparently, there's been an apology by some president or prime minister or something. There are videos floating around of that, so we will upload that to our social media. Um, but really
Back
nice
on track.
atmosphere beforehand.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
because it was
fantastic.
20 years since Ospreys won the Magners, then they had some old players there. So they had Hugh Bennett and Lyndon Bateman, did a bit of a chat beforehand about the differences then to now. And it was really nice to see them back because even though they're kind of 20 years on, when they were talking about that period in time and how they used to get together as a team and go out and whatever, I was of the age where I was out in town and I was seeing these boys out and about. So it's really weird for me now to see them older because it kind of made me realise that I'm that age now as well. The other thing that surprised Rod on Saturday, I dressed like a girl.
Yeah, I
And
said that. It was the first thing I said to you. I said, "You're not in a jersey."
first thing he said to me was, "Where's your kit?" I was like, "I said I'm dressed like a girl." I had like a dress and everything on and a
I did see
jacket.
in the pictures, yeah.
I know.
Was that
And that
especially
got
because you
me.
was that especially because you knew you were going to grab Dan Cassende after the game for a selfie, so you better get dressed up for
I
that
just thought
today.
I better look nice.
Yeah.
Just yeah. The first thing he said to me was, "Where's your kit?" I was like, "Something dressed like a girl, Rod."
Whereas
Um,
I'm wearing now the away jersey, the white, black and gold version of the black and gold one that I wore on the
that you
weekend.
had on. Mine
Mr.
is the
Consistent.
European one from 2002 years ago,
Yeah.
2003. I like it. The Tiffany blue and the pink is kind of me.
And in a
Um,
tribute to last week's pod, I dug out my Stade Francais
I
lightning bolt
loved that
shirt.
shirt when I had that.
As soon as we finished last week, I thought I've got one of those in the back of the wardrobe somewhere, so off I went to find it. So
I
yeah,
love,
class.
Chuck it
I
in the
love a
wash,
bit of
get that musty
vintage
smell out.
kit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Love a bit of vintage kit. Um, and I'm not like not averse to wearing like I'd never wear a Scarlets jersey or I wouldn't wear a regional jersey then because I'm Welsh. But other clubs I haven't got a problem with wearing.
I might
Um,
go as far as a dragon shirt, you know.
I do like their shirt.
Maybe now. I
And
mean, if they were competitive, maybe I wouldn't, but because they're no danger to us at the minute. Having said that, they did beat us earlier on the season, to be
yeah, my
fair.
mate Rogers bought one for Judgment Day. So once we watched our game, he's going to change into his dragon
Oh,
shirt
is he?
to watch them
Nice.
against Scarlett. So I might join him. You don't know,
Yeah,
might do.
they will all be
Um,
Dragons fans for that one, won't we?
yeah. So we then introduced Rod to the padded seats on the west side.
Oh,
West
I never
side.
felt so alive.
He was like that. Oh, even your dad was loving life when he on those padded
Yeah,
seats.
yeah, yeah.
Um, with a nice little cheer and whatever. And then we went into the start and we had a bit of a nervy first 20 minutes, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Bit nervy.
Connacht started strongly, leading what 14-3 after about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Did say last week, didn't I, Connacht to go one way of playing, and if it was proven by any game, it was this Saturday, wasn't it? They
Yeah.
absolutely played from everywhere, didn't they? Which is what they've
Oh
done all
God.
season, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we responded well, didn't we?
We did.
Really,
We
really
really
well.
did.
With
Yeah.
obviously that rapid succession of tries. Was it three or four in the space of 10 minutes either
It was
side of
three
the
and
Yeah.
about
park.
five, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Three and about 5 or 6 minutes, I think was the
Yeah.
craziest bit. I don't think I've
One of
ever
those
seen a
Rod
5 minutes.
Nip for a pee.
I know. I did. I did. I think I caught the end of the second one and I needed the toilet. So I thought, okay, try's just been scored, perfect chance to go to the toilet, thinking you're safe to not miss anything too exciting in the meantime. By the time I got back, we'd scored another.
But he went down to the NAF toilets. If you went up to the Nest toilets, there was TVs in the toilet.
Oh.
You wouldn't have missed anything. Me and his dad were like that. Go away. Go back for another pee. Go away. Um,
She said enough toilets though. They were still toilets not accessible by the plebs. So so they were still half decent. Although there was no handle on the door trying to get out, so I had to stick my finger in the keyhole and
imagine who'd have got
so I could
stuck.
have got locked in there.
That would
Uh,
have tickled me, that would have. Um,
but no,
but
we did well to get back from that point, isn't it? It's very easy in those circumstances when you're two tries down to just, especially at home, to just get a bit demoralized and the game can get away from you from there. So to come back with that surge of just flourishing tries with insane handling in each was really impressive to see.
Yeah.
they were
And
lovely
then
tries.
and then we all thought that we'd push on second half and put 50, 60 points on them. But that's where the
Yeah.
fun really started.
24-point deficit and they came back
Yeah.
flying.
Hmm.
I mean, I know the result was positive. Some of the attack was fantastic. But if we defend like we did on Saturday, we're not winning anything this year, are we? Let's face
No.
it. The defense
D-
was pretty
There
grim.
were glimmers of defence. I thought Boshoff was
Yes.
absolutely superb in
Yeah.
defence. Um,
We were just so narrow in defence. I mean, anybody that's watched Connacht this year would have seen that they like to spread the ball wide as
if
quickly
they
as they
popped
possibly
stuff
can.
wide, then it
And
would
that's,
have been
yeah, that's their
because they
MO
were
this season.
screaming for it out
Yeah.
wide. Um, Obviously, lots of knocks and injuries and niggles. At one point, we saw um, Dan Edwards going to 9. Was it Walsh going to 10? Yes, then going to 15.
Yeah.
Um, Dan's obviously posted on social media. Anybody got tips how to play scrum half? Which I messaged him about. Rod messaged him about because me and Rod were literally like, what's going on? What's
Oh, it's
happening?
mental. I've never
What's
seen anything
happening?
like that.
No.
And being, in the stadium, you could see Tristan Davis standing on the touchline
Yeah,
for 4 or 5 minutes, going,
waiting to go
"Why
back
can't I
on.
go on? Let me on."
Yeah.
And that one change would have sorted everything out, and everyone could have jigged
Yeah,
back
would have
into
gone
their
back to where
Yeah.
position.
they were.
But
Yeah.
I don't know why we were holding him on the sideline there,
Oh,
and it was a
Castagna, go
crazy.
winning as flanker. Me and Rod were
Yeah,
like, what is happening? And we
Yeah.
couldn't work out because they said the substitutions and everything else, but obviously they don't tell you about everybody
Yeah. Where they've actually moved to. Yeah.
changing position. It
It
was
was
really, really
crazy. Yeah.
weird. That first try for Connacht as well, the side opposite us, we don't know what it was that they saw. Um, and I think potentially it was they saw a forward pass.
I think there's
They
loads.
were
Yeah.
going mental, absolutely nuts. They were booing, jeering, chanting, cheat, cheat, cheat. Um, and we were a bit like, oh. But there was an unwillingness, I think, on the part of the ref on Saturday as well to sometimes consult the TMO or look at the screens. Um, Very frustrating to see some of the stuff that we could see with lineouts that weren't straight, forward passes, knock-ons.
She was a very
Um,
indecisive referee. I don't know whether either of you have watched the game back since.
no.
But there was
no,
one moment, I can't remember if it was first half or second half, but Sam Parry done a double pump thrown into a line out.
Mm.
And she turned to the players and said, "Oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again." And the Connacht players all went nuts because obviously the rule is with a double pump, it's a free kick.
yeah,
And she said, "Oh, we'll do the line out." And then the Connacht players were going, "Oh," and then she said, "I went, oh yeah, free kick to Connacht." And I was like, "Surely you know the rules well enough to know that that's a free kick." And there were lots of times she just seemed indecisive, as if she was almost kind of thinking and processing what decision to make. I don't
but
know.
she was blowing up, but we didn't know why because there was no kind of
Mm.
hand gestures or none of your usual signs that you would kind of know what was going on. Um,
But she wasn't
I
the
did.
worst referee in the URC this weekend, bizarrely. They were, as I'll come to my roundup later on,
Yeah.
there, there were worse refereeing performances this weekend as well. But
But a very nervy last like 3 to 5 minutes. They threw the kitchen sink at that in the last couple of minutes. Obviously some don't understand with Kieran about that leg fold and how nothing happened
yeah,
over that. I watched that again, a little bit confused that nothing happened
I
for
mean, to me,
that.
I was thinking back to Fender on New Year's Day,
Bender, New Year's Day,
where he did the neck roll, but the reason the referee gave the red was because of the pressure on the leg as
on the
he.
leg, yeah.
And this was far worse when he bent him backwards.
It looked
And his leg was
awful.
trapped in there, wasn't there? There was nowhere he could go. So
Yeah.
on the basis, and it's again what we go on about every weekend, is that inconsistency of sort of decision making across the URC and probably across all leagues, to be fair. That a decision can be given one week where it's a red, and then the following week where it's not even a yellow card. Or
Yeah,
we
nothing.
didn't even go
Nothing.
penalty for it. No.
That one looked quite
Nothing.
obvious, though. That's what was disappointing about it. It's not one of these marginal ones that you can somewhat understand how a different referee on a different day has maybe called it, slightly differently. This was blatant. You only need to see that replay back once to understand, like to see visibly the pressures on his knees, on his shins in those moments.
It
That
must,
isn't something that should be
yeah.
tolerated in
Yeah.
rugby.
But all she
I
talked
haven't
about
watched it
was
back.
just the high tackle. All she was talking about in her decision making was whether the initial hit was high, which it wasn't. It was sort of shoulder and just drifted up a little bit from there.
Yeah.
But she didn't look any further down than that at all, I don't think.
She struck
No.
me as a bit nervous and a bit tense, and when you're like that, you have tunnel vision, don't
Did a
you? And
bit
you
of a
see what's
mess.
just in front of you, and you sort of lose the ability to think a bit laterally in those moments, and the ability to call out your own mistakes or backtrack on your decisions and have the confidence to do that. So, you could see the game just
The
getting a
crowd
bit
was a
unstoppable.
cauldron when it was getting
Yeah. But
like
but we
aggy.
probably shouldn't too much more about refs because I mean we won at the end of the day, and apart from that one decision, we made our own luck and we produced the result, despite what was going on around and all those unmanageable factors in the game. We
Some
controlled what
lovely
we could
play.
control. We showed good defense in the dying moments of the game for those last 10 minutes. It was relentless, and
Mm,
Connacht could have come out with a win. They had opportunities to go for the post or, until we regained possession, push them back. And we did in those final minutes, drive them back over the halfway line, which was really
mm,
pleasing to see. We took that opportunity to take the draw away from them. Not that they probably would have gone for it because they were gunning for the win.
Yeah.
Um,
And to
yeah,
be fair, Cassende had another brilliant game. Like the work rate
phenomenal.
on that lad is
Yeah,
just insane.
yeah,
He's just always looking for something to do. He's a little grubber. And I absolutely love that about him is that he's just your dyed in your wool, solid, regional player
yeah.
for
Phenomenal
me.
work ethic.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah,
what's impressing me more and more about him week on week is it's his reading of other players. It's his understanding in the pressure moments of what what your opposite number is going to be thinking and potentially doing under a high ball. And he predicts their movements. He understands how they're going to respond and can, act
he's
accordingly, play
fearless.
accordingly. Yeah,
Mm,
his
He's
timing
fearless.
making those hits, his ability to gauge the distance of a low flying ball, all these little elements that are overlooked and don't come up in the stats, he does really well.
mm.
I'm going to have a t-shirt made with him on. I've sent you what I'm having made, and I'm going to have it made. Like legit, I need a t-shirt like that for Judgment Day.
With his new white
Because
scrum cap, you can
I
get yourself with
know,
it.
I
Because that was
know.
flashy, wasn't it? You certainly couldn't
Yeah,
miss him now.
No,
the
exactly.
Cocasanya's back. He was strapped to high heaven on his legs when he from the Achilles um up. I don't know if you've ever had any of that strapping. It's weird.
Never, never.
I have. It's weird. I had it. Funny enough, I pinged my of all things, skipping didn't land right, and so I had to have the back of my foot pinged. That tip's weird, very very weird.
What did you guys
So
think
fair
of
play to him.
Courtois though?
He was solid,
Um,
wasn't he? I think, yeah. I mean, Boshoff, I think, leads that centre partnership, doesn't he? And,
yeah,
he was solid when he came on. Most of what he had to do was in a defensive sense rather than attacking.
Mm. I don't think his contributions really came across well there in person, with the different perspective and everything and the noise and the inability to see the close-up plays and the replays and stuff. I talked last week, didn't I, about wanting to make a good assessment of him as a player because we haven't seen much of
mm,
him. I don't feel I got the opportunity to do that
No.
again
I'd
this
like to
game.
see more.
Yeah, yeah,
I think if we're looking at most improved player of the year, Jack Walsh is probably one of the first names you put on the team sheet now. I
yeah.
think start of the season, him and Nagy were pretty much neck and neck for that 15 jersey. Maybe Nagy had a strong year last season. But Walsh now is, with
He's been
apologies to
superb the
Matt,
last couple of games.
he is there now, isn't
Some
he?
of his
Man.
kicking and again his reading of play was outstanding because whilst rugby players play rugby, they're stating the obvious, not all of them can read the game.
Mm.
Hmm.
Not all of them have got a rugby brain. And I think he's another one of those who's got a rugby brain. He's perhaps thinking two or three manoeuvres ahead.
Mm.
Maybe well deserved man of the match for him because again he controlled it quite well from that back position. Um, we've got some lovely, lovely pace at the back, but we've also got. Don't get me wrong. I think reality is we need another tight head. Um, but I do think overall we've got a lovely, well-rounded squad now. We've got the forwards who can carry us over that gain line and can do the hard yards. But then you've got those backs who can see a glimmer of something,
Mm.
like that try from Cassendi where he practically went the entire length of the pitch. Like beautiful, absolutely outstanding try.
Mm.
Um, and he was blowing. And you
Yeah.
could see the joy when Avardi grabbed him when he
Yeah.
went over that line as to how joyful it was for all of them. It was a real team effort.
Yeah. I think our depth now though is really going to be challenged the next few weeks. And when we picked up a few injuries on Saturday, it's now we find out whether there's enough depth in the squad to compete for playoffs for last eight, last four finals in Europe, or whether just a couple of injuries are enough to knock us off track, really, and especially in key
Yeah.
areas. Thinking about the season that Keith's had, for example, losing him for any length of time. It doesn't sound like it's a series of,
Apparently he's up and walking and
yeah,
he was
which would be
good
brilliant.
after.
I think if we lost him, it would be a problem potentially. Ratty went off with a head injury, so whether he's a doubt for next Saturday potentially. Beard's
I
only
think
back.
Harry Deeves is a general head injury
Head
assessment
Yeah,
injury.
caution, isn't he, for the next 3 weeks or
yeah.
2 weeks now?
So having
So
looked in
He's
a
going to
really
be
strong
gutted, isn't
position,
he?
yeah, having looked in a really strong position a few weeks ago, we were talking about the depth of the squad and a few weeks ago and how we got people in different positions chomping at the bit to come through. All of a sudden, it's looking a bit thin, isn't it, in a few areas?
So where are we at most risk at the moment? I think probably centre is one of
Yeah.
those areas. Hopefully Naisalevu can
Nice.
get through his personal issues, obviously as fast as he needs to, but as soon as possible from our perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
bizarrely back row. Even if Deeves is going to be out, if Ratty potentially is out, Jack's coming back from a tough Six Nations. Tipperick was a doubt by the sound of it on Saturday, went off at half time. Sort of,
yeah.
but hopefully that was only precautionary and resting him for the games to come.
Mm,
But all of a sudden, even the back row, which looked like a massive strength, is a little bit stretched.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing that team update Thursday and the pre-match press conference.
Hmm.
Their medics are certainly going to have their magic sponge out over the next couple of the days and get some physio in on there.
Yeah.
I think it was the correct decision to rest Jack, despite the numpties online were like, "Oh, does he need a mental health break for? He's only playing rugby." Um,
Yeah,
If
no, but
someone's got to
we
explain
definitely could
that
have
to you, you're wrong.
we
Yeah.
could have done with his turnover work, couldn't we? And maybe a bit of leadership on the defensive line. We needed somebody to put in a performance of like 23 tackles on the weekend to stop those Connacht tries coming in, and
Yeah.
we didn't quite have that. I think a lot of our forwards did a lot of unseen work that doesn't show up well on the stats. But they had a relatively quiet game by their standards. So we
Yeah,
just need to tighten that up looking forward. But we went from 11th to 7th in one
seven.
round of rugby.
Yeah.
And we've propelled ourselves right up the table. So that's
But
fantastic.
that just goes to show what happened over the weekend and how
Mhm.
close they were. Because I think one of the stats that I was looking at was the majority of the games over the weekend were won by 4 points or less,
Yeah.
Yes,
which
yeah.
is just insane.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Me and
I think
Rod,
it was all
Rod was,
games, Sam. I think it was all games.
Only the
yeah.
Scarlet Stormers game,
It was just
and
the
that
one
was
game.
that was only because of the Stormers' last minute try to seal it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
how sad. My mind. Because me and Rod were keeping an eye on fixtures and stuff, weren't we? And we were gutted. Can we say to the lads on Dragon's Lair, we were rooting for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted for you. Um, but overall, we got the W in the column. We chalk it off. We dust ourselves off. Onwards now to next week, which we'll get onto that in a minute. But as we just said, big weekend across the URC. That table is looking tighter than an unshaft. It
Yeah.
really is.
It is, yeah.
Things are starting to like fall into perspective now, aren't they? So you can see,
Yeah,
what are we on? We're on 34 points now, is it? For 34, 32, something like
33, I
that.
think.
33. So I think, yeah, we're definitely going to need to win at least three of the remaining games
Yeah.
um, to
Yeah.
take us up into that mid 40s mark, which is where I think we'll need to be to qualify.
33rd, we are on 33 points. Stormers are just below us. They're on 33. They have, it's basically their points difference -9 for them. But again, looking at Ulster, Benetton, they're on 32. Again, it's their points difference against them that are letting them down, really. Um, Above us is, again, Cardiff are only 2 points above us, but looking at them, because they have, yeah, points difference again with them, um, the draw really and their games. So Leinster obviously sitting at the top on 58. They had their bubble burst a little bit this weekend, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, the top four are, 44, 45, 49, and 58 respectively. So you're not catching them, let's be honest.
No.
Unless
Everyone
something
else
goes
is playing
really
off,
wrong. Man.
is
But
playing for the remaining four spots, really, isn't it? And
yeah,
there's a lot
those,
of contention.
yeah,
So that
spaces
one,
4 to 8 are tight.
yeah. So that was
But
really important win.
Yeah.
If we'd lost that, I wouldn't have had much hope.
season's
That's
gone.
giving a bit of hope.
Season's gone. So, Mark, your URC roundup.
Yeah. Well, so much to get through. I'll put my glasses on to go through these tonight. So there we go.
Oh,
Right.
you mean
So
business?
yeah, it was a week of ridiculously close games this weekend. So start with Friday night, Glasgow 28, Munster 25. Yeah, Glasgow 12-0 down after 20 minutes. I'm sure there was a bit of anxiety in your house, Sam, about that one on Friday night. But
It was.
ultimately, yeah, Munster started that game really, really strongly. Um, Two tries in the last 20 saved Glasgow from what have been an unprecedented second consecutive home defeat. Don't know, I can't remember the last time that would have happened to Glasgow, losing two games at home. But and I think, yeah, Munster will be disappointed to only leave with a losing bonus point. Glasgow will be relieved to come away with all five after a tough night. Cardiff 20, Lions 17. A poor quality game Friday night. Not much really to write home about. I think in the end, Cardiff just needed it more as their last but one home game of the season. They knew how important it was for them to get a win. Sheedy found his kicking boots finally. I think he kicked all of his points apart from one goal I think he missed Friday night. The Lions huffed and puffed. I mean, ridiculous stat. Cardiff had 224 tackles that they made to the Lions 90. So it
Bloody
shows
hell.
how much ball the Lions had. Um, I know we said we weren't going to blast referees, but the ref in this one, especially the last 10 minutes, he was like Basil Fawlty in the last 10 minutes. He was just running around, sort of not knowing what was going on. TMO was coming in for this, that, and the other. He was ignoring stuff. He was almost as if he was trying to play. You know, when you sort of watch kids play and you wanted them to keep on playing until somebody scores the winning try at the end.
Mm.
And it was almost like that with him, that he was just wanting the Lions to score. And he ignored so much in that last 10-minute period. And he was just running around like a headless chicken. Sort of, yeah. But anyway, Cardiff get the win. They needed that win, I think, to keep their season on track. They got some tough games to come at the end of the year. Only one of them at home, like I said. So, yeah, big win for them. But I know we've mentioned this before as well. God, the Cardiff crowd don't half moan. All I could hear all the way through that was, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Okay, you hear it at all rugby grounds, but there seems to be just an extra level of moaning at the Arms Park compared to other grounds when you see matches, I think. But anyway, just something that struck.
They've got an element in to the point where I think when I was there on New Year's Day, I told one fella to sit down because I hadn't paid to watch the back of his jacket. Um, which I could have probably been a bit more diplomatic, but I was getting annoyed to be honest.
Yeah,
But they are quite if you expect them to rattle, they generally more than be aggy, wouldn't you, up there? Because they got the cash, you know.
that's true.
But that's Rod's probably like, what's you on about now? Um, it's the London Palladium when the Beatles played there, and they played like the Royal Variety. And he was like, you up there. John Lennon was like, you in the top seats, clap your hands. The ones at the bottom in the expensive seats, just rattle your jewellery. And that always just makes me think of Champagne Rugby fans.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't upset any more Cardiff fans because you're already being blocked.
Yeah,
So
don't
let's
need to spat.
not upset anymore. On to Saturday. So Sharks 35, Zebra 34. Um, I don't know. Zebra will be absolutely gutted not to have won this game. They blew two clear scoring opportunities in the first half where they'd done clean breaks through. They'd literally had to give one pass inside cleanly, and they would have scored two more tries in that first half. The Sharks, I don't know, they had no shape about them. Errors galore that led to intercepts and scores for Zebra. Um, I mean, I saw some South African fans, somebody was asking, what is the issue with the Sharks, because sometimes they just look completely inept, and the kind of general consensus seems to be that Plumtree's coaching is not up to scratch, for the level of players that he's got there and the depth of squad that he's got and the amount of internationals he's got in that team.
It's
They should
insane.
be, they should be flying. And to beat Zebra by a point at home in a game that they could have easily have lost isn't really the quality of rugby and the standard that they're looking for.
Mm,
I mean, Zebra were fearless all game. They were throwing the ball from everywhere. They, absolutely went for them. Their improvement this season is the big story of the season in many, many ways, I think. They're a totally different team, especially from the first third of the season to the second third. Um, and really, a game Zebra should have won. The Sharks were lucky to get away with that, which is mad when you think
yeah,
about a team that's fourth in the table with the quality that they've got.
That's the thing.
That Zebra should have won that game.
Zebra will be disappointed in hindsight, but if you said to them, what, even just a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that you're going to go out and play the Sharks in South Africa,
Yeah,
in the what's the name of their stadium? I can't even think, to be honest. Um, and get 2 bonus points, they would have
they'd
bitten
have been
their heart out
happy.
to get that.
yeah,
So yeah, two losing bonus points. They should be really pleased with themselves.
yeah. So moving on, Benetton 21, Edinburgh 18. Late try by Benetton won the game for them, which they probably just about deserved. Edinburgh would be disappointed, if they'd held on for the win, would have put them right in the mix. They were going to be up with Cardiff around sort of fifth place. The defeat in the last couple of minutes drops them down to 11th. So just shows really the fine margins in the URC. Just 2 minutes before the end of the game, they would have been fifth. game ends their 11th. So yeah, Edinburgh again, Jekyll and Hyde this year. They started the season really, really badly. They've had a really good run. But as a big win for Benetton at home, they needed that to keep themselves in touch as well. And they're just
It
about
was
to.
one that really helped us in terms of
Yeah,
table rank.
Yeah,
Dragged Edinburgh down below us, boosted Benetton a little bit, but in a way that benefited our standard.
yeah, 100%. Bulls 21, Leinster 20. I can finally say something different about Leinster this year. It's taken 30
losers.
rounds, 30 rounds to get to this point. Yeah, sort of very attritional until the end, really, and the game sort of came to life in the last 5 minutes. Bulls thought they'd blown it. Leinster scored late on, and then we were at, was it 84th minute with a scrum that was reset 4 times, I think it was. Before the Bulls got the penalty, which ultimately won them the game. I think they thought the red card, maybe the Bulls would have had sort of blown their chance. It was a horrendous challenge. Tackled the Leinster winger in the air, landed him on his head. Pretty sort of horrific, really very easy decision for the ref on the red card. It was Ben Whitehouse ref in this one, actually. It's good to see him.
Yeah,
Yeah, and had a good game, to be fair. Refereed the game well. Obviously it was a tense game. Two quality teams at the top of the table as well. But Leinster's invincible season is over. And they're the Sharks next week, so we could be looking at the unthinkable that they go back-to-back defeats. Possibly, depends what Sharks appear next weekend, though.
And that's a Sharks home fixture again, is it?
Yeah, it
yeah,
is, yeah.
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 Okay.
So yeah, so
Yeah,
the
the
main
Bulls are becoming. I was just going to say, Bulls are becoming Leinster's bogey team, really, aren't
they
they?
are, yeah,
They stopped Leinster's winning run last season as well. So
yeah.
yep.
That's it.
we yeah, nice little rivalry developing there, which we don't have a lot of in the URC, don't we? We have the local derbies, but we haven't got the any
No,
established sort of cross-border rivalry. So it is nice to see some of those starting to form.
Yeah, I think to be fair to Leinster, they went without their internationals. So by the time we get to playoff time, if they're playing the Bulls again, they'll be fully loaded. So you can read what you want to into this one, but Leinster will be stronger towards the end of the season.
But they did have the superstars, didn't they? They had Barrett and
Yeah, Barrett was
Snyder.
out and
Barrett was
Simon,
out.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
they played, yeah, but
Mm.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on next weekend, and then they'll focus then on the last 4 rounds. I think they've got 3 home games in the last 4 rounds, two against Irish teams as well.
They'll
So
want that title after,
100%, yeah.
Glasgow winning last year.
Mm.
And then the one game that went beyond the 4 point buffer was Scarlets 17, Stormers 29. Poor first half by the Scarlets, had no control on the game at all. Stormers just, you know, pummeled them really first half, and Scarlets were lucky to be as close as they were to them. Made them pay for errors and things as well. Decent comeback by the Scarlets. I think they were sort of pushing towards the end, but a last minute try by the Stormers sealed it. I mean, the one thing I've picked up from social media since this game is the Scarlets fans really don't like Owen Lloyd, especially at 10. Lots of Scarlets fans quite happy to drive him to Cardiff, let alone
Yeah, well,
and then get
especially now that he's leaving, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he didn't have the best
Fickle
of games.
buggers.
He didn't control the game terribly well. I mean, to be fair to him, is he a 10? I know he's played 10 for Wales, but you do wonder whether he's more suited to 15, possibly with his
15 for me.
young whole style of play. But yeah, didn't really care, especially for us on the weekend. If his confidence low for us on Saturday, then all the better for us, really.
Exactly.
I'm happy with that.
Hopefully they're coming into the double header against us pretty demoralized, and I would be after that defeat. I think it was their flattest performance of the
It was.
season, really.
Yeah,
Not much at all in there to be proud of as a Turk. So yeah, hopefully that works in our favour.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Scotland have had lots of games that have got away this season. They can point to lots of points that they've dropped
Mm,
through last minute tries, or whatever. This wasn't really one of those. The Stormers were the better
No,
team throughout.
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Oh, Dragons 30, Ulster 34. Um, Again, we keep on giving kudos to the Dragons fans, but they turned up in numbers again on Saturday. I know it was their last home game of the season, which is again crazy. The URC schedulers have got to sort this out. The Dragons have got no home games in their last 5. The Lions play their last 4 at home.
Mm.
these teams know that they've got, the Lions especially, they've got a run of 4 home games
They've
to
got a run of home.
victory. They know they're likely to win probably 3 of those games at least, so they can pick squads according to what's to come. And the Dragons, for the Dragons fans now to not see their team at home until mid-September, and we're only mid-March.
Six
Um,
months. It's a
yeah,
long
just
time.
doesn't seem right really in terms of the scheduling. So that's something needs to be thought about, I think, for next year. Probably the Dragons' best half of the season in the first half. They were outstanding. Just their whole quality of play. The backs were exciting. They scored after 41 seconds and sort of didn't really look back from there, really. Played really, really well. Hugh Anderson looks some player at the back. We've said that all season, really, but I think, Saturday he really shone. But they just can't see out the wins. They didn't have the composure in the second half to see it out. Try to overplay a little bit, rather than just get rid of the ball, play territory, try and turn the Ulster backs and make them play from deep. Dragons just kept on trying to play, and paid for it really. And even the last try of the game came from Hugh Anderson. Unfortunately, who'd had a brilliant game otherwise, trying to play out, and forwards just didn't get him in time, got turned over, and that was the winning try. Yeah, it really felt for the Dragons. I think half time, I would imagine their fans were sat there thinking, right, this is it.
Yeah,
Game of the season, it's going to happen. And for it not to happen, having played so well across the game, would have been really, really heartbreaking.
gutting. Absolutely gutting for them. Um, so that's our URC roundup.
Yeah, just looking
So
at the table, we've said a little bit already. Top four is set. But then from fifth, Cardiff are in fifth with 35 points down to Zebra 15th on 27, so an 8 point gap there.
it's
All
nothing,
those
is
teams
it?
could argue that they're in playoff contention still, with the games that are left. And thinking about some of the games this weekend, Connacht Munster, I mean, is 12th against 6th. You think, oh, it's quite a gap in the teams, but that's a 3 point gap between the two teams. Connacht win that at
Yeah,
home, go above Munster straight away. Um, Sharks Leinster at the top, will be a big one on Saturday as well. And then Benetton Cardiff, Benetton are 10th, Cardiff are 5th, but again, there's only a 3 point gap between them.
yeah,
So Benetton will be targeting that as a home win. But likewise, Cardiff will look at it as maybe their best chance of getting an away win before the end of the year as well. So some really interesting games. I think every weekend now there's 3 or 4 games that have got loads riding on them.
good potential.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
potential. That table is really, really tight. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to the next batch, not only just for us, but for the other teams as well, to see where these cards fall.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it, I can't recall the table being this tight last year. It was nowhere near this tight last year. Um, so it really is one of those one slight mistake, and that's your season gone,
yeah.
Yeah.
isn't it? Really.
100%.
But unusual situation we find ourselves in with a double header against the Scarlets on 2 consecutive weeks. Week 1, we've got the URC. Week 2, we've got Europe. Now, we don't want to lose either of those games because both of those games mean something, whether it's maintaining our top eight status within the league or whether that is going on through Europe. So they're both high stake games. Obviously, this coming Saturday we are away. We're down in Parker Scarlets. They've got a bit of a big show going on beforehand with a rugby tournament, and they've got, forgive me if I say this wrong, Dafydd Iwan singing Am yr Hyd beforehand. It's a big one. If that don't get them fired up, I don't know what will. But we've just got to go siege mentality down there. We've done it before. We can do it. We can do it again.
They're pulling out all the stops, and it doesn't smack of desperation. That's putting it really strong, but they're certainly, clawing at any opportunity to try
they're
and
creating
get,
that 16th man.
yeah, trying to get something over on us. So I almost take that as a positive. That's reassuring. I'm sure all the
They're
our boys
worried.
will be using that as motivation. Um, and I guess if any fans are going down, uh, adopt that
Loud.
song as your own as well. Don't boo it.
Yeah.
Don't. but join in and use it as personal motivation, because I don't see that as a Scarlets anthem. I see
It's
it as a
not.
No,
It's a
of course
Welsh
not.
anthem. Um,
I was thinking during the week in terms of prioritizing. Obviously, these are two massive games, and if we had to choose to prioritize one or the other, which one would you prioritize? And for me, I'd almost prioritize this weekend. I know the European game gives us a chance of a trophy at the end of it, but a win on Saturday puts us in prime position for the playoffs,
playoffs.
pushes us closer to Champions Cup rugby next year, which is a real possibility now.
Yeah.
And I think, looking at long term rather than short term, this weekend for me is almost priority. If we have to
Yeah.
choose, ideally you want to win both of them.
Yes,
You
yeah.
don't want to win
It's
one.
Sophie's choice, isn't it?
You
About what
Exactly.
can't
you want.
you
Exactly.
can't even think like that. Like, if you've got all the resources available to
Oh,
yourself,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, are you making one team intentionally weaker to
No,
benefit
I'm
the
not
other?
suggesting that for a second, but I
Yeah,
think, we go strong this weekend. I think there isn't a case of resting players for the European game. I think we
Hit
go as
them
strong
hard.
as we possibly can this weekend. Go for
yeah.
it, and see
And
who's
if
left.
all those players are then fit again next week, we start
We
them
go
Bring
again.
again.
them back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If they're worthy of it, and if their form dictates so, and if the training week goes in their favour. Um, it's a really interesting dynamic, actually, isn't it? I imagine it's going to be quite the head puzzle for Mark Jones and the other coaching staff going into this training week. How do they manage that with the players, with expectations, and with the emotion behind a double header, a derby against our biggest rivals? Um, I do not envy the decisions that he's going to have to be making, but I think that's why you've got to strip it back to that simple fact of you just play what's in front of you. You go
Yeah.
hard for the next game and the one after that as well.
Yeah, there's no point trying to be clever about it.
Yeah.
Just go and
No,
play
no.
your rugby, play your game that you know that you can. I'd
What
like to
what do you think
issue.
Scarlets will do though? From Scarlets' perspective, just to flip that around, obviously
Yeah.
they're down 14th in the league now. I'd almost say with their fixtures coming up that they might be out. Obviously, they're still in contention. Technically, they could get
Yeah,
to URC playoffs, but I think their current position, the loss this weekend, has probably put them out. So will they
They'll
be
be thrown in.
prioritizing the next weekend in the European
the
competition?
European Cup,
Possibly,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't think, I think the Scarlets team that we pipped over Christmas was playing better and stronger than they are.
Mm.
They're not the team that they were earlier on in the year, I don't think. Certainly the last few games, they're not playing to the same level.
We've swapped.
We've taken that mantle on now.
We've swapped.
You know, they
Um,
they were the attacking darlings of Welsh rugby back at Christmas time. Their backs were throwing the ball from everywhere. They're scoring lovely tries. That's us now.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, can I issue a public apology to Keelan Giles? I need to. Not something that I've done. Not me. Took my mum shopping Sunday. She loves Strostra. I'm not too keen due to its location, but I'll take her down. Decided to nip into Aldi. Took her into Aldi as we're leaving. She only nearly took Keelan Giles out with the trolley.
That would have been some injury to explain. Can you imagine Mark Jones on Thursday when he does his
I'd have
press
had to have done a
conference?
public apology
Keelan
to the
Giles is
club.
out on Saturday due to a trolley injury.
Honest to God, like literally, I was like, Mum, for God's sake, let the legendary Keelan Giles go past you. She's like, who's Keelan Giles? I was like, oh my God, I can't even explain this to you right now.
Did he
Because she's
did
in
he
a
have to
World Cup star.
sidestep to get past it?
Nearly had to go step Mark, not lying. So Keelan, I'm so sorry that my mother nearly took you out with a trolley in Aldi.
That's brilliant.
But I nearly ran up to him in the car park and said, you played brilliant yesterday. But then I realised that would give me kind of weird stalker vibes because he might have been like, why is she an Osprey fan and why she's in Llanelli? But then I was kind of thinking, Jim, they're around you. But he's on the right side, isn't he?
Hmm.
So that is my public apology to Keelan. For me, Parker Scarlets is quite hostile. I
Mhm.
don't like it down there. Don't mind a little bit of banter or a little bit of whatever, but it's really hostile. to the point where me and my mate Andrew were hooligans, have said if we went again, we'd probably get done over for killing someone because they're just awful. Really nasty banter as well. Like, have you two been down there? They're
Only
really
when the
personal.
Ospreys home game was relocated there because of Storm,
Oh,
whoever it
Rod,
was, Storm
they get
Dara.
personal. They're personal, really personal. Um, so it's going to be a big occasion on Saturday. But you know what? I think we've got the mental steel
Yeah,
to do it. One of the things that in the stadium update that I'm going to get onto later, and it kind of seems like this falls in very well now with what we're talking about. Um, Lance did like a coach bounce update of our stats between the start of the season and where we are now. And you know, as he said at the start of the season, getting so close to Leinster, we would have been delighted with that at the start of the season. But Lance said it was like a bit of a morgue when he went into the changing room after. And Mark Jones kind of said, we're going up to Glasgow. The only thing we can do now to make us feel better is we go up to Glasgow and, excuse my French, we fuck them up. That was his exact words. And that just goes to show, you know, the bitter disappointment that they had of losing that against Leinster, but obviously how they took that, internalised it, and went on to grind that win out in Glasgow.
Yeah.
So I think we've got the mental resolve to go there with all the bells and whistles that they've got going on and all the hoo-ha. I think we've got the mental resolve to do it. And I think we are coming into our own at the right time.
Yeah,
definitely. I think the only danger that remains, sorry, Mark, is just
no,
is whether we take the recent win. We've got a number on them recently, haven't we, Scarlets? I think we've won what, 5, 6 of our last meetings, home and away.
Yeah.
So we've just got to keep grounded, really. That's the big thing for me, and not go into this expecting to win. We will
Don't
be
think
the
it's going to be
favourites on
easy.
paper. I've already been hearing Scarlets fans all week saying and emphasising how Ospreys are the favourites, just to try and remove some of that pressure on themselves. So we've just got to stay
They want to
grounded.
paint themselves as the underdog, don't they?
Yeah, everybody does, given the opportunity, because it does create a platform that you're better able to go out and just play freely, isn't it? So we've just got to capture that and maintain that. But there's a few. Sorry, Mark, did you want to come in on that as well?
Yeah,
I was
no, I was
just
just going to say, man,
segue.
knowing the snippets that we know in terms of Mark Jones's standards and the high standards he sets for the players, you know, he would have got into them after sort of Saturday night. He wouldn't have been happy with that performance defensively, certainly.
No,
So he's going to want a lot of things tightening up in training this week. So
no,
you know, and likewise, Dwayne Beale, you know, he's not going to take that performance line down from the Scarlets on Saturday. He would have been really into their players. So there's going to be two highly motivated teams on Saturday. I think
yeah,
we'll see a different type of game. I don't think it'll be as free running as the Connacht game was.
No. But
I
hmm,
think it'll be tighter. Both teams are going to know the importance of getting a win. The Scarlets, especially, like you said, Rod, they're kind of in last chance saloon a bit. Really, they can't afford to lose again on Saturday. We've got a few more opportunities, maybe with being a few points ahead of them, but for them, they lose on Saturday. That probably is curtains for them for the season. Isn't it?
and fair play, like we saw Mark Jones coming down out of the coaching box on Saturday a couple of times and being pitch side.
mm.
He appears to be quite hands on.
Oh, very
Um,
much so. Yeah, yeah.
you
He
know,
stormed past us a couple of times,
yeah,
rushing down pitch side to
Jesus big
deliver a
men.
couple of messages personally and
Yeah.
directly to whoever needed to hear them, which was really nice to
Does
see.
he
He's not,
spot you said you think he'd spot you said you thought he'd spotted something for
yeah.
them to take advantage of, because off the back of that, then when we were proper under the
Hmm.
cosh, we scored a beautiful try through something that I don't think they would have picked up on if someone hadn't said, this is what they're doing, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And that was the lovely thing about Rod being our side as well. He could see the coaching team coming back and forth and what they're doing on the touch lines and everything as well. So I do think he's really, really, really hands on. don't want to be cocky in the slightest at all because it's got the potential to be two banana skins on the trot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Keep our heads down, do what we are doing. Let's not worry about them and all the noise and the bluff. Go, do our job, come home.
There's a
Simple.
few key battle areas, if you want to call them that, for me. Back row is going to be really interesting. Really going to enjoy over the 2 weekends, seeing how our boys Tips Morse, Jack Morgan if he's coming back in, as well as Morgan Morris up against Fafita, McLeod, Plumtree as well, because there's a smattering of internationals in there as well as really exciting up and comers with some similar skill sets, some vastly different skill sets. So it's really going to see how the dynamic is there. Obviously, we don't know selection for either of those two games yet, but we can certainly get a picture of who's going to be playing. Halfbacks as well, or maybe not halfbacks, but playmakers, because I think Walsh comes into this. If you've got Dan and Walsh on the pitch at the same time, with either Hardy or Ruben as the playmakers, it's going to be really interesting to see them
It's going to be a
up
spark.
against Johan Lloyd and Gareth Davis, particularly since we've recently pinched Hardy, seeing him come up against his old teammate Davis. And Johan Lloyd, I think we've got an opportunity there to sort of get in his head, rattle him,
Niggle him.
Mm.
and set the game off on a certain footing. And I think that's very doable if we play it tactically well. And then the back three as well. I think that's a key battle area. Obviously, we've got three players in Giles, Cassende, and Walsh who played a lot of rugby. Are we going to see them rested for one game, or are they going to play both fixtures? Are they going to be up to it? Do they need a bit of a rest? You've got some quality operators on the Scarlet wing on the right day. Your Nicholas has got a lot of experience as well as a lot of pace. How will that dynamic match up?
I
Those are
think the centres are really interesting, especially if Keith is out. I know his injury, we don't know the extent of his injury at the moment, but I think that's maybe somewhere the Scarlets might have a bit of an edge if Keith is out.
Oh,
With
fingers
Eddie
crossed.
with Eddie James, Joe Roberts, Max Page possibly coming
well.
off the bench.
Max played on the wing on the
Game
weekend, though,
Saturday
didn't
he
he?
did, yeah. But if
Yes,
they're
yes.
looking at, Coxinga potentially playing on Saturday, it doesn't sound
Hopefully,
like
Naya Clevo.
Naiklevu is ready yet, possibly. But whoever comes in, it's going to be an unfamiliar partnership if Keith isn't fit. I think him playing on Saturday is key in terms of snaring those Scarlet centres who could
Yeah,
be really dangerous.
Yeah.
he's just a beast, and he's fast, he's powerful, he's strong, he's dynamic. You know, again, and talking about Keelan, he's not the biggest. He got some turner speed, but that boy's got the heart of a lion.
Mm.
Heart of a lion. He's not scared to take on, those bigger than him. We saw that on Saturday. Um,
I think Beard being
again,
back as well is massive in terms of
Mm.
marshalling our pack and just organisation in lineouts in
yeah,
in defensive molds especially as well. I
yeah,
think him being back in is huge.
it's a big one, big one.
And clearance kits now as well, apparently.
And clearance kicks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, huh? It was just like it's like a missile going off. I didn't even know the boy had it in him. Didn't even know he could kick. Like I thought, he's gonna kick a barn door. It's
What
a
we
bit
what we really need is to bring Dan German in so that he can goad a couple of yellow cards out of Plumtree and Fafita and some of their
Yeah,
hotheads, like he
yeah,
did against England. We just
I
need to
love
come
him. I
be
just
a niggly bastard.
yeah.
I just absolutely, I do like that. And when you were on the other pod last week talking about Moriarty being niggly, I do kind of like that. But then I
Mm.
don't necessarily like the stuff that
This is the kind of game you want Moriarty in, isn't it?
Yeah,
Swansea
Yes.
lads, uh,
yeah,
playing for more than just the jersey, but just for sort of regional pride.
right.
Um,
And I'm back home. I'm stamping my thing on it, and
yeah, yeah, and I'm showing these youngsters who's boss. Yeah, this would be the perfect game to have a Ross Moriarty.
Yeah. So, lots to look forward to. So big couple of weeks for us. As always, we'll be covering it on the pod next week and the week after. Um, normally we do questions later, but we've had a couple of questions, and I think one of them is really relevant. So, Jake Neely on Insta has asked the question: do we currently think that we've got the best back three out of the regions?
I guess the way to think about it is who from the other regions would we pinch if money was no object and I don't know, we were the WRU with new powers to reallocate players to certain teams. Um, I do like Cam Winnett, and I think he was unfortunate not to get a place in the Six Nations. I think he's still a quality operator, and he actually showed that on the weekend. He was one of their standout players, looking as hot as anything in the fullback jersey. Who else?
Scarlets back three is strong. And if you think there's Murray, Elliot, there's me,
Hmm.
Max Page, oh gosh,
Tom
who's
Tom
Rogers.
Murray.
Tom Rogers. Yeah, so
Yeah,
they've got
yeah.
a lot of depth in there as well.
Uh-huh.
So I
I
would
do
say
Yeah.
like Blair
possibly the
Murray.
Scarlets edge hours
Pains me to say it,
me
but I
a
do.
little bit.
Um, One of the other questions we had is Jack Welsh available? Is Jack Walsh available for Wales? Now there was a bit of debate over this about whether he was or whether he wasn't, and Toby
He's-
Booth thought he was. Or no, am I thinking of Max Nagy? Maybe I'm thinking of Max
It was
Nagy.
Maggie, wasn't it? Yeah.
But I don't think he is available for
No, I
Wales
think
yet,
he's
is
he's
he?
he's a ways off yet. He's 3 years in the UK now, isn't it? With his time at Bath and then us. So sorry, not Bath. That's not included. He's been 3 years with us, isn't it, at Ospreys? In terms of his Welsh qualification, he needs to get to five, so he's still 2 years off.
2027 apparently,
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Okay.
which is fine because he's what? He's 24. Another 2 years, 26. Nice
The thing
age,
is, if he
Jake.
keeps playing like this, I'd be very surprised if he's not snapped up by USA or even Australia.
Mm.
He's certainly USA standard now, isn't he? I think they'd really
He
benefit
doesn't
from a
want to
player of
though,
his
does he?
quality in there. I don't know his personal preference,
No,
but
he said he'd be more than happy to be interested and play for Wales. He's not
oh,
interested
he
in
he
looking
said that,
elsewhere.
does he? I'd
Oh, that's
missed
good to
that.
know. Yeah.
I had a conversation with Gatland earlier on in the year because
Ah,
Gatland was like, are you qualified? And he was like,
mm.
no, not 20, until 2027.
But
Um,
realistically, if
and he said he
Australia
looked
came
at you.
knocking now, going into the up and coming friendly fixtures ahead of the Lions tour,
Yeah,
and he's
so,
got that opportunity to bed in with the team and then potentially play against the Lions, he'd be silly not to take that. So yeah, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think he's quality, and I think he deserves any attention that he is or isn't getting.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's more of an Aussie rugby league than Union fan, apparently.
Mm.
Which I can't blame him. I love Aussie rugby league. It's
Oh,
hard as
super.
nails.
Yeah.
I'm also a
I
fan of
think
Aussie football as well. Aussie rules on the
No,
oval, bonkers.
we played it in
Love
school a
it.
few times, but I can't pretend to have any kind of grasp over the rules or how to play the game.
No idea. You got your different posts and stuff, and I know the scoring or whatever. But as to the rules, I'm not too sure. Um, Another game that I've quite discovered, which is not anything like that, is the Scottish game of shinty. You are legally allowed to hit people with your stick. I could totally get on board with that. Loved
Mhm.
hitting people with my hockey stick on the ankles. Shinty could be for me.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so those were the questions for the week. But loads of people have been asking about the stadium update. And as your girl with the notebook, I can give you that update. Do you all want to know?
Yes, please.
Yes, you do.
yeah.
So pretty much the start of the presentation was the same as it was 4 months ago, which is whilst we've got a winning rugby team who are playing attractive rugby within this last batch of games, we need to bring fans back, whether it's old fans back in or attract new fans. That's ideally what the stadium is looking to do. From that point of view, we know Welsh rugby is really, really tribal. So you're not going to have a floating fan who will think, oh, I don't know what to do today. Shall I go and watch Scarlets, Dragons, Blues? People tie their flag to the mast, don't they? So we need to give people the attractive option of coming down to St Helens to watch rather than thinking, I'll go to the cinema, I'll do this or whatever. So they want to create a really good match day experience for people. And there's a lot of work that's going on in phase 1, which is taking place pretty much over the next six months. So first big thing is we're going from a grass pitch to an artificial pitch. Reason being is that is going to be used by Swansea, RFC, the White. It's also going to be used by the uni, and they really want it to be used by the community rugby teams outside of that as well. Grass pitch won't stand up to that, artificial pitch would, and they really want to make it a community hub for rugby, which to me makes me happy. One of the good things as well that came out of it is they've had talks with the Welsh Rugby Union about bringing women's Six Nations to St Helens, and also under 20s, which if you've got the facilities there, I think will be fantastic. Obviously, anybody who's been to St Helens knows that the terrace doesn't run parallel with the pitch, so they're shifting the pitch so it runs parallel with the terrace. Repair work going to be done to the terrace, and it's also going to be covered, so you're not standing there in all weathers. And this is where it gets exciting and a little bit interesting. So the current main stand that they've got is a temporary stand that's going to be picked up and moved to the west, so the Mumbles End, and that's being pitched as the student stand, and it's going to be nicknamed the Sin Bin. I love that. So it's going to be cheaper tickets in there for under 25s and for students. We all know younger people, students get a little bit rowdy. Keep them down that end. They've got their own stand. And if they can be extra, good on you. You know, happy days.
So just for clarification, Sam, that temporary stand, the main terrace, as you called it, that's the one currently on Mumbles Road
the Mumbles Road side, yeah.
Okay. So that's shifting 90 degrees onto the west end. Just
going to the west end, behind the posts there.
Yeah.
That will have capacity for 1,000 fans.
Mm-hmm.
Opposite then, on the east side, you're going to have the family stand. Cheap tickets for kids. Adult tickets are going to be the same price as they would be on the terrace. With regards to the terrace, then you're looking at catering for being close to the pitch, and you've got about a 3,000 fan capacity in that terrace. The east stand, targeted as families, you don't have to have a family to go in there. So if you don't want to be on that terrace or you don't want to be rowdy, then you can go in there. But again, we're looking at around about 1,000 seats. Main stand, so the terrace is going to be the north stand. Be really good if they can get it going like the North Bank was in Swansea for the football, because they had a great time down there, and I had a great time down there when I was watching football. But that main stand, it's 95% certain now that it's going to be a permanent stand.
Okay.
So they're looking at creating 3 layers. Down the bottom, you're going to have your changing rooms, your physios, and everything else, and an area to kind of gather. Next floor up then is going to be 250 hospitality behind. Next floor up is 150 hospitality behind. That is going to be glass fronted, looking out onto the bay. That main stand, we're probably looking at around about 2,000 seats. Those are going to be your expensive tickets. So the side where I am at the minute with the padded seats up in the Liberty, that's where it's going to be. As I say,
on the glass front with the beach view, is there going to be function rooms and spaces?
There is, yeah. So you're going to have 2 function rooms, and they're looking to get as much non-match day revenue as possible. So birthday parties, weddings, conferencing, all that kind of thing. So they're able to bring that revenue in. One of the other things as well that they're looking at, because you're going to have a tunnel coming out under the stand, and they're going to do a thing with that to make it a nice run out. I don't know if you've seen at Saracens and Quins that they've got like their tunnel come underneath.
Yeah.
I'm going to shock you with the prices for that now.
Well,
Um, Northampton is £10,000 for a season ticket for the Tunnel Club. Saracens is £13,000 for a ticket for Tunnel Club, but it's glass fronted and
uh,
whatever.
looks amazing to
Little
be
bit
fair,
rich
doesn't
for
it?
my
Yeah.
blood, little bit
Mm.
rich for my blood, but there are apparently people out there who are interested in paying that. Good luck to them. Thank you very much. Not for me. Um, so, with regards to that, then that's going to be your main stand. It's going to be a nice seating. And they're kind of looking around that as to what they're going to offer. Fan zone. Now, I think this is something that's going to rock your world. Fan zone is going to have a retractable
Okay,
roof.
nice idea.
Nice idea. It's also going to have heating. So when it's cold, it's dreary, it's dark, it's Friday, it's not an excuse that it's raining. Your fan zone's going to be covered.
Mhm.
They're looking to get a big screen in there and a stage area to try and create some post and pre-match stuff and get that atmosphere going. Um, and again, if it's a lovely day, they can roll that screen back. People can see the sunshine and everything else. Food tenders are all in. They've just got to make a decision. It's all going to be local produce. It's not going to be your £1.50 industrial burger or your cheap beer. It's going to be nice local stuff. But again, they've tried to keep it as reasonably priced as possible for people who are going with their kids who they're going to want to drink, they're going to want to eat.
But those
They
are
want.
still going to be people bringing their mobile units to sell their produce, or is there going to be like fixed?
I think it's going to be fixed
Okay.
units,
Uh-huh.
which I think will work with a retractable stand.
Mm.
That is going to be behind the east stand in kind of like a semicircle section. I have got a picture. It's not the best picture, but I did take a picture of the screen to show the layout. So I will pop that on Twitter, and I will put some notes about this on as well. They're looking to have much more player interaction with the fans, to have them mingling. Because as Lance said, if they're not playing and they're injured, they're still being paid.
Mm.
So he wants to get them out and about talking to people. The existing clubhouse is being refurbished. Um, that's going to be where their offices are, and there's going to be a bar, and that's potentially going to be another add-on that fans can have if because there's only limited space in that clubhouse. So more will be evolving over that as it comes on. Phase two is going to be creating a training centre again behind that east stand and a gym, so that rather than going up to Landarcy, they've got it all in one spot. And again, local community can use those facilities. Um, One of the things that Land wanted to make clear was that they want to respect the site, they want to respect its history, and they want to do everything in a really mindful way. They want to create a traditional Welsh rugby club, but with a modern infrastructure. I'm really excited by some of this because I think it really will draw fans in. One of the things that I meant to ask on Saturday, which I forgot about, was about season tickets. So there's going to be a slight delay on season tickets and being able to renew your season ticket and get a new season ticket. The reason being, season tickets are going to be through Ticket Pass, and you're going to have the opportunity to view from your section and your seat what your view is going to be like. So before you commit to that, you'll
That's good.
have your seat view. This is a game changer. I also asked about funding, because previously, around about 5 or 6 years ago, you were able to finance your season ticket if you couldn't pay up front. Um, they're bringing that back.
That's good.
So for people who perhaps don't go, who watch on telly because they can't afford the upfront cost of a season ticket, because let's face it, if there's a family of four of you, two adults, two kids, it's 500 quid. Now, we all know the situation economically throughout the UK at the moment with cost of living and everything else. Season ticket's a bit of a luxury, a rugby ticket's a bit of a luxury, really, isn't it? That's fantastic for people to be able to budget monthly to be able to do that. So, Lance, well done. no credit checks either, apparently. So once I know more about that, then I will let you know. But from that meeting, planning's going in soon. I know there's been lots of digs online from other regions fans. We've gone through pre-planning. We're not trying to change the use of the site. We're working within the site. We're not adding anything that's potentially not there with seating or anything else, even though we're putting 2 new stands in. The terrace is there. The fan zone's already there. You're just developing internally what's in there. It's already a stadium. It's already being used as a ground. So they've got no issues at all with that. Someone also asked a question as well about the PRA and whether that was a sticking point with funding. One of the things that was quite clear was yes, Swansea City Council are putting money in. However, that's part of a large development across Swansea with the Kingsway, the Palace Theatre, the Old Castle Cinema, loads of rejuvenation going on throughout the town centre. So this is very much part of that for the council. There's promenade lighting and things that are going on as well. So it's very much part of a large, wider scheme. There isn't any requirement for that council funding to be placed in conjunction with the PRA. Lance was asked about the PRA as well, and basically said he can't discuss a lot of it. However, they are very, very close to doing a deal. A couple of the clubs have got one question outstanding, the Ospreys being one of them, which is, he couldn't tell us what it was, but it's peculiar to these clubs. So once they can get that organised, they can all sign it off. But apparently there's a lot going on in the background with the Welsh Rugby Union, and because it affects people and people's jobs and everything else, they can't come out and tell you what exactly is going on. So I feel a little bit more reassured by that. But very much things are looking to change and things are coming in.
I think in terms of the PRA, I think just the fact that we've re-signed some of our star players suggests that they've got a fair idea on budgets for next year and what we're likely to be able to afford, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of talk around public transport, encouraging people. They're in talks with the uni to use their car park as well. So the reality is there's going to be more car park in there because you've got the rec next to it and then you've got the uni.
Mm.
So there's going to be more parking than there is at the Liberty
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, all within a stone's throw. They're also going to be looking to speak to the public transport companies as well about park and ride and all that as well. So lots come in, lots heading our way. So I think it's really positive news about the build. One thing, I know we both said, or we talked earlier on about blocks of games having like a tight block away and everything else. There is a possibility that it's not going to be ready straight away, which we knew was going to happen. There have been talks with the URC about perhaps having more away games in that first block so that we can buy ourselves more time. The Liberty has said if we can't do that, then we can still have games there for the time being. So it could be a little bit of a disjointed season for us.
So we might
There's
have the
always going to
Lions
be
finish.
options.
So
Sorry.
we might have the Lions finish to the season, might we, with 4 home games to finish off the year, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reality is if we've got to do that, we've got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps get the South African games out of the way at the start of the season rather than, the end. But it all seems quite positive.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
It really does. And I think the season ticket thing for people, I think will be a game changer. 300 new season ticket holders have signed up already for that new £50 deal, which, if you want to put your money down, existing season ticket holders will get priority.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're signing up for that £50, you're going to get priority for someone else who, is coming later.
Was he asked about pricing for season tickets? Is it going to be very much similar to what people are paying now with the Swansea.com or?
Little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
Little bit more
That's just
expensive, but they
inflation.
want to keep, but they want to keep it as affordable for people as possible. So it's going to be a little bit of an uplift, but I don't think it's going to be horrendous. Um, Dav sent me a question asking if season tickets would still be available after this original sign up thing. Yeah, you'll be able to buy a season ticket right up until probably the first game. They usually do half season tickets as well. So if you're not sure what to do in the first instance and you're not sure, then there's always going to be the option. You can't guarantee what seat you're going to perhaps want, but if you're happy to be on the terrace or wherever, that terrace is 3,000. I can't see that selling out. But they really want it to be an 8,000 fan cauldron for Welsh rugby.
I think a half season ticket is a brilliant option. Think about somebody like me, for example, who's got a distance to travel.
Yeah,
I would be tempted to do that, to go
yeah,
to 6 or 7 games in a season rather than all 13, 14, and sort of to commit to that. And there's probably lots of people in a similar position, not
yeah,
necessarily geographically, but because of work or whatever, who could maybe commit to going to 6 or 7 games in a year, but not necessarily every game.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a really, really good
yeah.
option.
So a really
I want it to come
positive.
down. I'm ready for it. I want to get down there.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm really, really looking forward to it now. I just can't wait to see the work
Feels like
starting.
Christmas is coming, but it's like far away and it's
Feel
not
like
speeding
Christmas
up.
when you were a kid and you're like, how many more sleeps, Mum? But
So will all of phase one be done before a ball's kicked then? Because I know at one point there was talk about the fan zone maybe being added afterwards. Is everything,
by
including
the
the
looks of
will
it,
be
they're
done?
looking to
Yeah.
get everything in phase one done before we have our first home
Okay.
game
But at
then.
least
And
there's
that's
things
why they,
amongst that phase one that can be prioritized, aren't there? If they are
yeah,
starting to run out of time for that, fixture that they've earmarked as the first one in the stadium, they can prioritize the stands and the infrastructure and,
give you a seat,
maybe
like,
let
do
the
you know what I
fan
mean?
zone drift
Yeah.
on another couple
Yeah,
of months.
it's not the it's
Construction
not the
back
end of the world.
alongside play in, can't it? Yeah.
Not the end of the world.
As an
Um,
absolute sado, are they going to raise money by selling off the pitch that they're going to be pulling up?
I don't know.
Because that would
Oh,
be,
well,
I mean,
Swansea
people
still need
would,
it.
I'd have a
Oh,
bit of
you mean
that,
the
but then it's
old
based
the,
the
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 grass
old
stands,
pitch,
isn't
St.
it?
Helen?
the
Oh,
grass
sorry.
pitch. Because people would
Not
pay good money
leaving the
for it.
Swansea.com.
No,
Leave the
no.
pitch.
They
Just
hate
leaving a
us as
pile
it
of
is. They're
dirt.
not going to let us,
Yeah.
trowel it up.
But
Um,
if people have the opportunity to buy a patch of St Helens grass with all the history of the games that have been played on there over the years, I'm sure that would be a
how the fuck
money
do you even
spinner.
keep that though and
How
stop
would
it
you
from going
preserve it though?
brown?
Well, I guess you
You'd
plant it,
you'd
put it
plant
in a
it in your
pot
own
and try
garden,
and
wouldn't you?
grow
Then
it.
put a little plaque by it to say this is, the try line at St Helens or
I
whatever.
do it. I
I'd be
do
like
it.
that to the dog. Don't piss on that. That's St Helens. That it's got Scott Gibbs stood on that.
Yeah.
But if I can also give a shout out as well to the Welsh ladies, the women's Six Nations is underway.
Yeah.
Narrow defeat against Scotland on the weekend. Nothing but nice things by the team to say about the new coach. Really unlucky on Saturday. Scotland, we came out firing. We were the best team for the first quarter. Silly yellow card kind of let us down, and then we let Scotland get back in. But really nice to see that they're playing England this weekend in the stadium. So good luck, ladies, against those Red Roses. Um, didn't get to watch all of the game. I watched it in fragmented pieces because it was on at the same time as we were at the stadium, but I watched the extended highlights. Um, Coach is right in saying when he's built a really nice, solid foundation with that first game. So
Yeah.
really excited to see where they go for the rest of the
Yeah.
tournament.
I mean, listening to
Um,
Sean then being interviewed in the run up to the game, he seems a very inspirational figure, doesn't he?
he
The
does, yeah. He
those
seems so
interviews and stuff.
nice.
I would run through a
And
wall for him from listening to his interviews pre-match on Saturday. So, I think having only had a week with the team to put that kind of performance together, what he can do by the
Yeah.
World Cup, for example, in the summer is
and
really exciting.
I'm so looking forward to that World Cup. Again, working from home, I'll be lucky enough to, watch. Because I
I'll be in
think it's good.
Manchester for the first game, the Scotland game, so hopefully we can get revenge on them in that one.
I'd
You're
love to
right.
go up. I just don't know what John's call is going to be. But good luck, ladies. Go forth, make us proud.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to the end. Now, I'm not going to let you go without having a rando. And talking of toys, we were talking about being second-hand roses earlier on. And I mentioned that I bought myself an iPod. Um, and then it made me think of being a kid. And I went through a phase, sort of like in my middle 30s, where I bought myself the toys that I didn't have in my youth that I wanted. And I scoured eBay and Amazon. And funny enough, if I look to the side of my desk now, you won't remember this, Rod, but there was a cartoon when I was little called the Get Along Gang. And it was like Monty Moose, Dotty Dog. Um, I rebought myself some of those, and I've got some magnets on the side of my desk, and I love them. I'll never get rid of them. I must have paid about £6 for these magnets, so probably 50p when they first came out. Um, but I always wanted like a Barbie dream house. Now John wouldn't let me buy the Barbie dream house. He was like, absolutely not. I had Cindy's that my mother knitted clothes for, right? Which is fine. You know, at the time it wasn't fine, but it's fine now. Um, but what toy did you really, really want when you were little that you didn't have that you wish you could buy now?
I mean, it's a slightly different take, but there's toys now as an adult that I don't think I would have wanted as a kid, but
But you
that
want as
have
an adult?
unlocked something childlike within me, and now I want them as an adult, and that's Lego. And I didn't realize how expensive some of these really cool Lego sets are. I mean, there's no way on earth my parents would have got me a 500 quid, I don't know, model of the Death Star or of Barad-dûr, one of the towers from Lord of the Rings or something, because, inevitably 50% of those pieces are going to go missing or go up the Hoover or
Yeah.
something like that. So, but I don't know what I wanted as a kid that I never got. I was always outdoors playing, a stick gun I was happy with, just playing swords, or making
I
bows and
really
arrows.
wanted a Mr. Ice, you know, the snowman thing that you turned and created ice.
Yeah.
Pointless toy, pointless. And I always wanted the Play-Doh where you could squeeze it and it would come out of their heads. Never had that either. Had plasticine, which was shit, really, you know, in comparison. Mark, you?
Oh, I don't know, so many things. Interesting what you're saying about having like a different version of something or having homemade versions of stuff. And my parents, I never went without anything, but the stuff that I wanted that was really expensive, they'd find an
Ditto.
alternative instead.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, I always wanted a chopper bike because someone might get a chopper. I didn't have a chopper. I had a chipper instead, which was like a smaller version of a chopper, and nowhere near as cool. But so, things like that. I wanted a snooker table, so I had a 4 foot snooker table. But it came from our next door neighbours via Santa, of course. And it was slightly warped. So I knew if I hit the ball towards the bottom left-hand corner pocket, I was going to succeed every single
yeah.
time. So little things like that. Now, I never went without what I wanted, but it was always a slightly different
Not
version.
quite right. Yeah,
But it was
not
exactly,
prop.
but to be fair to my mum and dad, they weren't rolling in money. They could afford what they could afford, and they did their best to get what I
Same
wanted.
here.
But not necessarily the exact model. I was obsessed with things like Star Wars figures and that kind of stuff. That I was gutted because I sold my Star Wars figures.
John did as well.
Do you remember on Swansea Sound, you used to be able to sell stuff on Swansea Sound? So you'd phone
Yeah,
up and say, oh, I've got X, Y, and Z to sell, and then they'd announce it and say, oh,
yeah,
Mark Phillips in Forest Park has got kind of 10
yeah.
Star Wars figures and a Death Star to sell or whatever, and then you get a phone call from somebody to say, oh, can I buy your Death Star? Yeah, so that's what happened to my Star Wars figures, which are probably worth an absolute fortune now, and probably somebody's made a
I
mint.
know.
But,
Yeah, f figurines never lasted long in my household growing
uh,
up. I think, but I was almost like Sid from Toy Story, that evil kid next door.
Oh my
They go
God.
into his bedroom and all the all the toys were like mutants with various things stuck together and arms sticking out of their heads. I think that was probably realistically my room. And I've just noticed now as well with my shaved head, I look a bit like Sid. Um,
Huggish.
true.
We're eye
yeah.
twins, so we've discovered in the selfies that we had on the weekend, we're blue eye twins. We both got very blue eyes. Very, very blue eyes. Um, yeah, I went through a stage where I just bought myself toys. Now, I can confirm I am a Lego addict. I think we've discussed this before. I own I own both current Disney castles that they've released, so Disney World and Disneyland. 400 quid a pop. They're huge. They're at least 3.5 feet tall, and they are both in display cases in my living room. I will put pictures of these on social media because they are amazing. I got so much Disney Lego, Harry Potter Lego. And when I finally get around to do my office, and it's going to be Animal Crossing themed, and I've got all the Animal Crossing Lego.
I love how when we get to adults, we start calling the things that we played with as children collectibles, and we justify
I know,
playing with
I
them
know.
as we get older.
But I fell down an Animal Crossing rabbit hole, right, in lockdown. I was raging. I didn't get furloughed, right? I got furloughed, and then a week later, I was called back to work. All these other people furloughed. I had a week with Animal Crossing. It was the best week of my life. I literally spent 16 hours a day building my island to pay that bitch Tom Nook the money back that I owed him. So I am going to get a Tom Nook tattoo at some point because I owed him loads of money at one stage. But did you know that if an animal gets like a toy for comfort, it's called a knock?
Is it?
Yeah. So
Didn't I?
like my dog wanders around with whatever it is that my mother's bought her, and it's called knocking. I'm like, those Japanese are crazy buggers. Do you think that they call Tom Nook and Timmy and Tommy Knocks because it was so comforting for people?
I
What
have
do we
no idea what
reckon?
we're talking about now, Sam.
You've never heard of Animal
I know Animal
Crossing?
Crossing, but you're getting into the depths of Animal
I am,
Crossing.
yeah. No, seriously now. I literally, and every now and then I go back and I destroy my island and I start again. And I'm like, he's pulled me back into the game. It's the same with Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legacy. I've played every single house as a boy and a girl in Hogwarts Legacy. And I've also done the bad curses as well, the really like horrible ones, because why not? But yeah, I went through a stage of buying myself toys. I'll probably go through that stage again, if I'm
Collectibles,
being
Sam,
honest.
collectibles.
Collectibles, baby.
Collectibles. But that is us for this week. Now, no, none of us are going to be there on Saturday. I
No.
am being a good child and I'm taking my mother to see Michael Ball and Alfie Bow in Cardiff for the evening. Not gonna lie, love them both. Alfie Bow's my weird man crush, along with James Martin. But I'm not going to Cardiff until I've watched that. So me and my mother are going to do a mercy dash after the game. Rod can't go, Mark can't go, but we will be on our socials. And let's hope those odds are in our favour. Let's hope we hold our nerve and we can go down. Rod will pop our banner up with all our socials and everything on. Like, share, subscribe. Even if you don't like, share and subscribe. We're up to 113 subscribers now, unless it's gone up since I last looked.
And word of mouth, guys, just like pass us on, friends, family, your drinking group, your local rugby club, just mention it,
Just say they're not rugby noses, but they are quite entertaining. They got a bit of charisma. Sam's a nutter, Rod's a locker, Mark's a silver fox. Happy days. No.
Then we talk about collectibles and toys.
Yeah. The rando of the week.
Exactly.
But have a lovely weekend, everyone. Wherever you're watching it, enjoy. And what's the Welsh thing that you always say? Ymlaen a graig?
Ymlaen Gweilch.
Ymlaen gweilch.
Come on, the
Check it out.
Ospreys.
Come on, the Ospreys. Have a good week, everyone.